Hi everyone and welcome to the Build the Cat series of videos. My name is Tony Xavier and I'm the Chief Learning Officer of IMS. Build the Cat is a series of companion videos to go along with my book called Build the Cat, which is available on Amazon. So in this particular video all about specializations, we'll be looking at each of these specializations that you need to take up during your MBA, what you will be taking up depending upon how you want to which area we want to work in. And more importantly, how to build a profile for the same, how to see whether it's right for you or not, right? So before all of this, story time as usual. I like to, whenever there are non-directly teaching sessions, I like to have a story. So this story is from about, I think around 2016. So around that time, I was posted in Chennai and my best student, one of my best students of all time, I say best because he had 999 in 10th, 12th and grad. So he was the state second ranker, I think in 12th standard in Tamil Nadu in his year. He had participated in about 200 contests and won about 70. And it was in one such contest that I had conducted in his college that he participated and he came second. The IIT Madras team came first. So that's when, he met me. And then, for a long time, we were in touch and everything else. So in 2016, he came back to me after his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. And he told me, sir, places like IIM Ahmedabad and all are not for, regular, simple people like us. I said, what do you mean? He said, sir, there was a scholarship given, and the scholarship given was a merit and means scholarship. So they arranged everybody in the decreasing order of CAT percentile, right, or CAT scores, and then the first person with a family income of less than 12 lakhs got the scholarship. He said, as per the CAT score, I was 67th in the list, but I still got the scholarship because all of the above were above 12 lakhs. So he said, when I met students there, they came from such, elite background. Some of them, people were like children of, businessmen and IAS officers and everything. So I felt that they were being groomed from a very young age to get into this, into an IIM. They knew exactly how everything works and the profile was also getting built for that. Right? I was doing so many things, but I felt there was still a information asymmetry between what the market wants, between what corporates look for in terms of profiles and what I had. I was like, why are you so, bothered about this and everything? He's like, sir, for example, I participated in so many contests and everything, but I didn't do any social work. I wish I had that part of my resume which was slightly weak. I could have done that up. So he wanted to tick every single checkbox. It didn't affect him, too badly. He got a pretty good, option campus and everything. But maybe there were a few more things that he would have, taken up, right? So what I felt then, and then when I started evaluating students later also as they met me, I thought there were two groups of students. One group of students who either comes from a background where the parents are already MBAs, right? And then they know exactly why they are doing what they're doing and how they're headed, right? For example, a few years later, I was in Pune and I was taking a class and there was this young kid who was maybe still in his graduation only. And he was sitting in class and he would answer the questions very fast, but very well-mannered kid. So even if he's getting the answer right, he's not eager to tell me he's got the answer right. He's waiting for all the students to come. He'll just look at me and I'll go and I'll look at his sheet and I'll just nod and tell him whether the answer is right or wrong. At the end of the class, he happened to speak to me and asked him, okay, so what's your background? What are you doing? So he's like, I'm in my second year of graduation, not engineering, but I think commerce or economics honors or whatever. So he's like, I want to take the GMAT now. Anyway, I want to get into finance. So I plan to take up the CFA and everything later and, parallelly plan my career in finance. So I thought anyway, right now in college, the GMAT score is valid for 5 years. I might as well take that. I was like, okay. So then I asked him the next question, what do your parents do and stuff. Then yeah, dad was from JBIMS, I think, and mother was also from very good college. So already this thing. So students who are from particular backgrounds or students who studied in national level colleges where this conversation is always happening around them, right? So because this group is very small, it's not that IIMs are completely filled with people from elite backgrounds. Bulk of the people will be, what people like me who studied from necessarily a tier 2 town and studied in a college where, nobody knew much. I didn't know what an MBA was also until somebody told me, because back in the day when I was studying, it was only an MS, right? So what I thought was that a good way to build this gap, instead of just going in and saying, hey, I want to do an MBA, I want to do finance, I go into IIM Ahmedabad and everything will be sorted. And it doesn't necessarily work that way. And everybody needs to know how things work in the larger scheme, in terms of what do corporates want, why do they look at particular, profiles and stuff. So the main thing to know is that the time to choose your specialization is right now. Why do I say that? So when you get into a college, in the first trimester itself, your summers will happen, right? Once your summers happen, what is the resume for your summers? Is there anything different that will be there when before joining the college, after joining the college, that you can do? Your resume at the time of joining the college is the resume that will be there in a couple of months, right? So there is very little time there, right? All the time that you have right now is if you know which specializations you want to know. Specialization might be a very narrow word. We can look at domain. So I want to get into marketing, I want to work in finance, I want to work in strategy, consulting, right? So unless you know what you want to do, then all the time, because bulk of the students, some people start preparing very, very close or already working, but there are a lot of college students also. There are people who are taking a break and preparing for the next time as well, right? You need to know that you can't waste your time and decide that you'll go and do that later. When I was preparing, there wasn't this much information. So if I could go into an interview, and if somebody says, what are your short-term goals or what are your long-term goals? I could say that, sir, right now, ma'am, I'm just, I've just gotten into and I have a chance to get into an IIM. So I want to spend the first year, learn everything about the different specializations, because first year is all common subjects and different streams, and then make my decision. 10 to 20 years back, it was fine to say that I don't have information. Can you imagine telling someone in this day and age that you don't have information? There is the internet, there is everything in the world that you have for you to find that information. So for two reasons. One, you cannot tell a panel that you don't know your short-term, long-term goals. Two, you can't waste all of this precious time to work on your profile for later, right? So these are the two reasons why you need to choose your specialization right now. How will we be doing this? So typically the common conceptions, the people have a lot of common conceptions. And I was also no stranger to this when I went into a B school straight after my graduation. So extrovert with good communication skills, this was me, a people's person, great communication skills, one should take marketing, right? I'm like a math person and, I like Wolf of Wall Street, so I want to get into finance, or I'm a CA or a CFA, whatever, I want to get into finance. I'm just cracking a few jokes, not necessarily hard and fast, right? Mechanical engineer, so I'm a mechanical engineer, so I have to do operations. All-rounder who wants different challenges, than consulting. All-rounder, then, but not necessarily consulting, but I want general management. I feel I don't want to narrowly, put myself into one thing, right? I'm a techie, sir. I'm a techie, but I don't like coding. So then I want to become a product manager in a tech company. And I'm a people person who hates maths, so I'll do HR. People person who hates math does not necessarily mean, HR directly also, right? Because HR is not, it's, these are cliches. There is a truth to these cliches. I'm not saying the cliches are not applicable. There is always a, degree of truth to cliches. When somebody says, we are just friends, maybe they just mean that, we're just friends. But there is also more than the cliche in terms of if cliche is, single dimensional or two dimensions. Let's look at the three-dimensional part of the whole thing. So what we'll do is that in this first video, we'll be only looking at two specializations, sales and marketing. In the second follow-up video, we'll be looking at the rest of the specializations, strategy, consulting, general management, HR, IT and product management and all of that, right? So what we'll look at first is I want you to understand also, I want to use this video as an opportunity for you to know, okay, will I like this? Because you can't do your job or start a job and then decide that you don't like this, right? So what are the roles like? What is the actual job going to be like? What is a good career progression, right? Now for these, what are the skills required? What sort of skills are required in each of these domains? And the things on a resume that will demonstrate those traits, right? You need to demonstrate those traits as well in terms of the resume. So if the people know that these are the roles, that this is the career, these are the skills, and the recruiter will be looking at things in a resume, correct? So what should that resume have? We'll start with sales and marketing. Sales and marketing was what I specialized in. That's the first job that I took up as well. So usually in sales and marketing, the first stint that everybody gets in most companies, barring one or two, is in sales. Right? So this is if you don't have any sales experience before, right? So usually the only company that directly puts people into marketing is P&G, Procter & Gamble. So, and maybe a few others, I don't know, but bulk of the companies put you into a sales role. There's a student of mine who went into IMB, he already had a sales role before. So hence he directly got a marketing role at HUL. Otherwise he would have done that sales stint, Now, what does sales mean? You are not going to sell. That is the first thing. You're not going to sell. You're only going to manage the channel, right? The area that you work with, right, completely depends upon the industry that you are in. So I, for example, was in the apparel industry. So I was working with Aditya Birla Group in their fashion division, Madura Garments. So I was the area sales manager for Louis Philippe, Van Heusen, Allen Solly. Right? Now, this is not a FMCG business. Right? So it's not like I have hundreds of stores that are selling a toothpaste, which is an FMCG product. The stores will be limited. So the stores will be limited. Hence, the area that I handle will be larger for the same value. So I was handling initially Delhi and Rajasthan, then the East, then TN and Kerala. Right? So these were the two states. My friend, for example, my best friend, he was into FMCG. He was handling the sales for Sundrop oil, back in the day. Now, Sundrop oil is sold maybe in many, many more stores than just a few, right? So his territory was coastal AP. Right? An entire set of, this thing was there. Right? Now, what was our job? His job and my job, what was our job? Our job was to go ahead and ensure that to manage that this network is working well. So I'm not going and doing the sales, right? I would go and say go to each part of the I would look at, first thing to look at is the product available in all the stores? For example, apart from company-owned stores, when I was in TN, there were a lot of these big sari stores. But sari stores are for weddings, and men also have to go shopping, for a wedding, and they accompany the women maybe. So while the saris and the other things are the main, right? There is one floor for men where they'll go and do the shopping, right? So not just the company-owned stores, there is also a network of what you call, partner stores or trade stores, where we had to ensure, my job was to ensure, okay, is this big store stocking my brand or somebody else's brand? Why are they not stocking my brand? If they're stocking my brand, yes, they are, because Louis Philippe is a big brand. They need to keep it. But have they displayed it properly? Have they given that the brand, is the branding there correct or not? So that is my job, to ensure that is the network right. And also look like network expansion. Okay, there is a new mall coming up. How good is that area? What is the projection? Should we open a store there and stuff, right? So the big challenge is to manage this whole network, right? Of people. That's the first thing. So to manage this huge network of people, who are the kind of people that you're speaking to? You're speaking to store owners who have anything from, say, 400 crores to 1,000 crore turnover or even more. Right? So you're going to go there and talk to them, because the only reason they might stock your brand is because they like you and they like the relationship with you. Or for them it can be, okay, Louis Philippe, Zodiac, something else, what difference does it make? Right? So a lot of it is about maintaining relationships. At one end, you have to go and talk to these people, right? So I remember back in the day when I was there, one of the big stores that I was handling, there was an accident in the family and a person died. So I had to go all the way, travel to a small town, because to attend the funeral and be there, because it's not just like a business relationship where it doesn't care, but one has to be there. So that is one set of relationship management. Right? Second part is, should I do I have a monthly target? Yes, I will have a monthly target, right? Now, in this monthly target, who are the people who are going to achieve this? So if you look at sales, usually there are no offices. You work out of a distributor's office or somebody else's office. It's not, office is usually the head office, otherwise you work out of this. So there's no fancy offices. The person who is actually taking the sales, or is doing the sales, are the salespeople of the distributors. They are going around collecting orders from each and every shop, right? Now, if they do a great job, your monthly targets are met. Yes, the distributor is there to do his stuff, but that distributor might also in some cases be storing somebody else's products. So the distributor is looking for himself. The distributor salespeople are working there. The store owner is working for himself. Your job is to ensure that all of these people are motivated enough and like the brand enough to do more for you than they would do for other people, right? So it's a complete relationship management role. Now, if the distributor sales is one person, sales guy, will be the exact opposite of the big company owner, right? They might or might not be from, usually they're not from any fancy B school and everything, very simple people. And from one part of the country to the other, it will be completely different. So when I was in Delhi, I remember the distributor sales guy was, absolutely tall, lean like a dude, long hair, and going out on we would take me to the stores right at the beginning. So we stopped for lunch. So usually when lunch and all happens, the company guy pays, the distributor sales guy doesn't pay. But in Delhi, everybody, has a particular attitude like, no sir, you cannot pay, I will pay. No sir, you cannot pay, I will pay. I'm like, hey, it's okay man, I'll pay. But he was just refusing, right? Full confident and everything. And he was like, in the end, he was like, theek hai sir, chaliye, ditch kar lete. I didn't understand what he was saying, ditch kar lete. Then I understood, what he meant was ditch kar lete, let's split, right? So that is one level of confidence, that if I have to make, work with him, I would need to be one kind of person. At the same time, I come down to the south and the guys are extremely docile, completely not like that, hello sir, hi sir, and they will gently give their hand. You don't even know what you're supposed to do with the hand. Are you supposed to, see again, these might seem like stereotypes, but these are actually people I've met, right? So it's my own experience that I'm talking about. The person will just extend that hand, you are supposed to give them it's almost like do whatever you want with the hand sort of this thing, right? So again, none of these are, biases or anything. These are real life experiences. They're two completely different sets of people. On one side, you're dealing with store owners with huge business turnovers, and the next side you're dealing with this, right? So, and you don't have an office per se. So this is the kind of skill that you require. Do you think that any of these things are taught in a textbook? Can anybody teach you these things? They don't. Even in a B school, no B school can teach you these things. How to handle different people. There is no 4-step method that, like that I only give. So it's not. So you either have it or you don't. And how do they test that? That I'll come to later. So this is sales. So after you work in sales for a couple of years, usually 2 to 3 years, if it's for female candidates, they don't want people to be in the sales or in the field for a very, very long time, because sometimes it might be rural areas as well and stuff. So for them it's slightly shorter, but even so it's 2 years, definitely. And for men it's about 2 to 3 years around that. Now after that you have a choice. You can either continue in sales or you can move back to the head office and join the marketing team. Right. So what's the difference? So there are two kinds of people. Some people say, hey, I always like to be on the move. I don't want to sit at a desk. I don't want to make PPTs, right? I'm somebody who likes people. I'm somebody who likes to sell. I'm somebody who likes to, get the money. I don't want to do some, gyan and poetry writing and taglines and all of that. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in strategy. So, sales and marketing usually, end up being at loggerheads, with each other. So some people go along that route. The second, so the other people might say, hey, I don't like to be in the field. I don't like to travel so much. I don't like to being out in the sun or whatever it is. I want to make strategy. I want to make presentations. I like to build brands. They come back to the head office in some role in marketing, right? And that's part of the brand team. Now, what happens in marketing? Marketing, everybody knows the 4 P's of marketing are product, price, place, and promotion. So product is, what should your product be? Right? Now, as part of the marketing team, you do 2 things. One is launch new variants, right? So when you launch new variants, of this whole product and stuff, so that you need to do. How do you launch new variants? You have to look at, so my friend, he was working, with a famous company back then, and he said that, they were into biscuits and stuff, and his senior was given a 1-year project to say, what is the new biscuit that we can launch in the health category. So what is that biscuit that we need to launch? So the senior was completely crazy about marketing, exceptionally good at that. So he was doing all sorts of research, on that. Now, health and Indians, what is the connection? And from the research, it came out that India's biggest health concern is diabetes. India is one of the diabetes capital of the world. So if Indians are prone to diabetes, that is part A, there's another thing that Indians like a lot. What is that? Chai. And along with chai, what goes? Biscuit. And biscuit is full of sugar. So how about a diabetes-friendly biscuit? So after all this market research, the study came out that, okay, under the health category, this was many years ago, that we launched the diabetes health biscuit. Remember, until then, there were very few in the market. Launched, absolutely smash hit, 1,000 crores within huge turnover within no time, right? So much so that I remember when my friend, me, went to a third friend's place. Friends always come in groups of 3, good friends. So when we went to a third friend's place, his dad was like, hey, you're working with this company. Your company launched this biscuit. Fantastic. Now I can have, because otherwise auntie would never give me these biscuits, because he's, diabetic and stuff, right? So that's the role of, say, marketing, where you actually do research to find out what product should be there, right? Now, that is just new product. There are other things as well. In an existing product every year, what small changes can you make, right, to make the product, better, right? So, for example, if you look at most things earlier, anything that came in a packet, nobody bothered about whether it was easy for you to open or not. You cut it open or you tore it open with your mouth and you poured it out. Now you see, for any sort of, say, what you call, Haldiram's item or anything else, they give a small, this thing at the end with a small notch so that you can catch and open it easier, right? So product improvement every year does not necessarily mean brand new product. It can be small things that improve their experience. So one of the first marketing job is that, P, what is the product? Second thing is the pricing of the product. Right? So, is that product working? Should it be low price? Should it be high price? So that's one part, right? Third part is place. How do you want to sell this product? Do you want to sell in exclusive stores, or do you want to sell it, everywhere across the market, or do you want to do a digital only this thing, right? And last part is promotion, right? Promotion is where you're doing the communication for this whole thing. It can be whatever medium you choose, digital, online, whatever it, offline. Finally, it's the communication about the product, right? And promotion can make or break a, product. For example, if you look at, one of the big, it's a pretty common example. Look at Tata Nano, which was like a huge hit and a huge launch with a lot of fanfare. Everyone knows that the Nano failed not because the product wasn't great or the price point was great, but they actually launched it as a cheap and an economical car. But that is a problem, because in India, car is a status symbol. So when you're buying a car, you're actually going up you've arrived, right? So by saying, and if the product is positioned as something cheap, people, after you buy that car, nobody is going to appreciate that the car is, looking at that you've arrived. This is a better, you've actually bought a Enfield or some other big bike, people will be more, envious of you, right? So, because car was a status symbol and it was not projected as a status symbol, there was a problem. Now, this communication is a very, very tricky thing. There was another automobile company, which, the Maruti back in the day, it knows that Indians are price conscious, but it appealed to that in a different way, right? For example, for car, mileage is a huge thing, right? So they had an entire campaign around kitna deti hai, how much mileage. So a couple of guys are watching a couple of rockets in NASA, and the first question is kitna deti hai, right? So if you see, they acknowledged what the users want and approached it in a very, very humorous way. So it's also not that the message should be, what is the message? It's the way you communicate a message and how you position that. So communication becomes a huge thing. Now, if you look at all of these things that I spoke about in marketing, is the brand team going to do all of this alone? No. to research about products, to research about what's required for consumer behavior, to understand that product ka feature defining or new products, that completely comes from consumer behavior. You'll study a subject called consumer behavior, but you also study a subject called advanced marketing research, and you'll use your advertising agency itself might be a research agency, or you might have a specialized agency. They will do all the research for you. You will be sitting in the research. You will be listening to what people are saying, right? They will be, they will call you and say, there's a focus group discussion, do you want to sit, right? So that entire part is outsourced, but you will be working closely with them, right? Same thing, will you be making the ads? No, you won't be making the ads, but you are the person who has to tell them what this brand is about, what this brand stands for, what is it that you want to convey, what is the history of the brand. Because every agency, whenever people are coming, there'll be new people who are working on the product. They might or might not know what your intention is. So it's the brand manager or the people in the brand team who have to speak to the agencies and tell them exactly what it is that they want, so that they get exactly what the brand is all about, and it's made in line with, I don't want to get into marketing jargon, but it's made in line with what the brand wants, right? Now, you will be there at the shoot. So if there are celebrities and stuff, so you will be there at the shoot, and you will be, having a chat with them and all of that. So that is there, right? But you will also be looking at, say, there will be research to the ads as well. They'll shoot maybe 2-3 variants of the ads, and they'll show it to people, and they'll ask people what their reactions are and everything. So you will be sitting and looking at that as well. Okay, how is the ad being received and stuff, right? So if you see there also, you're working with somebody else, right? Now, just not making the product. So product is one thing. You need to find the right packaging for it. How does the packaging reflect this particular brand? You need to get that developed, and the production and everything else. So you're constantly in marketing. You're working with different kinds of stakeholders. You're the center, the brand team is at the center, and working with different stakeholders to get all of this and to get all of this off the ground. Yeah. So if you look at it, both are equal. So marketing, sales begins where marketing ends. And there is no reason you make a great product if you don't have a great sales team. It doesn't work. And technically, there is no reason for sales and marketing to be at, loggerheads, with each other. Now, whether you chose to continue in the sales level, you will go on become, say, from an area sales manager, zonal, regional, national sales manager. You start in the brand team and eventually become the CMO. After handling one brand, maybe you'll have an entire category and you'll become the CMO. Now, both national sales manager and CMO have a clear path to becoming CEO. Both have a clear path. Depending upon from which side you have come, from the sales side or the marketing side, the approach can be different. The way the company is led will be different, because they're two separate kinds of people. But you start off in sales and then move to marketing, or you start off in marketing, and both paths lead to the CEO. So that's what sales and marketing as a career is about. Now, from whatever I have told you of this job, sales and marketing, what is most important? Your ability to forge a connection with people from different backgrounds, right? Your first posting might be an area where you don't even need to know to speak the language, right? So people from different backgrounds, different social classes also, right? Your ability to present your ideas in the most convincing manner. You should be able to tell people what your brand is about, why they should stock you more. It can be to the agency or to a very, very big retailer, right? Every single time you have lots of strategic options. Should this strategy better, that strategy better? How should we position this? What should be the communication? What should be the differentiation? Every time you have that, right? And you know that you have to manage multiple teams, different locations, functions, organizations. You need to work with the production team in terms of, what time the manufacturing this thing. You need to check whether the packaging, it can be done, it cannot be done, the right kind of, colors, this, that, everything. So you have to manage multiple teams, different locations, functions, and organizations. These are all the skills that you require. Now, if these are the skills that recruiters know are required, how will they figure this out from a resume? First, 10th marks, 12th marks, graduation marks, academic profile. Is it important? Absolutely not. So when I, had joined the campus and everything, I think I was doing pretty well in terms of the academics in the first, until the midterm exam. I was doing fairly well, and I thought I'll easily cross a 7.5 because I was doing fairly well. I thought so, even the subjects at the IIMs are not very tough or whatever. Getting a 7.5 is not very easy. Right? Turns out, I got a bit overconfident, chilled a bit, and you chill just a bit, and people are so smart and competitive that you're left behind in a relative grading one of this thing. So it ended up I didn't even get a 7. I got a 6.9 odd. And I was very, very angry with myself, and I was sitting on the terrace of the hostel, and a senior came to me and, hey, why are you looking like this? It seems like you're very, very, a bit, down, and I never see you like this. I was like, yeah, ab kya karu? Socha tha satya aayega, atti aayega, ya, paas ke paas aayega, satya bhi nahi aaya, not, thought I'll get close to an 8, not even a 7. The first thing he said was, hey, you want to get into finance or consulting or something of that sort? I said, no, I want to do marketing. And then what's the point here? Nobody bothers about marks and marketing. Go enjoy. So for me, it was like ja jeele apni zindagi wala this thing. So after that, I never really bothered too much about the mark. But I did everything in terms of extracurriculars. So if you look at academic profile is not important. Academic pedigree, are you from an IIT? Are you from here? Are you from there? Again, not important. Education background, should you be an engineer? No, we don't take engineers, nothing of that sort. Professional degree, no. Work experience, bonus. So freshers preferred. So it's not that work experience, the relevant work ex, it is great. Otherwise freshers. Why freshers is that if you need to put somebody into sales, if you need somebody to put into, on the ground with not really an office, so they need a lot of energy. And people with work ex might feel that after an MBA, I want to play manager and sit in an office in a nice cabin and all of that, right? So freshers preferred, work ex only if this thing is important, right? So entire first thing is not important, only a fresher. Then what is actually important? Extracurricular activities. If you need to easily strike a rapport with different people, if you need to make friends with people from different social groups, if you need to convince people very, very strongly, you know that anything that indicates creativity, adaptability, extroversion, people skills, high kinetic energy levels, all of these. For example, sports. Why sportsmen? Because sportsmen show very, very high achievement orientation. Unless you're playing a solitary sport, in a team sport, you have to work with people and get a goal, right? Dramatics, singing, knowing multiple languages, trekking out, anything which shows that you're a creative person, that you've done a lot of teamwork, that you're extroverted, that is the most important thing. Next important thing, you need to be able to lead people. Straight away, you're leading a sales team, under you. So positions of responsibility is very, very important, right? So in college, I had, I was the first the class rep of my section, and then I was academic secretary of the batch. I was part of the band. I did dramatics for 2 years, with this thing. So dramatics, academic secretary, singing, all the marketing companies that I applied to, I got a shortlist and I got into the company of my choice, right? So this is what they are looking for. So this is the kind of resume that you need. So if you're in college right now, right, or if you're working and there is time, you know that anything you can do at work or, in college related to this work. So all sorts of extracurriculars, any sort of leadership position. If you're working, you might say, that's how will I do if I'm working? You can take up CSR activities, you can take up another hobby on the side or whatever, something to showcase these parts, something to showcase your extracurricular activities, right? So even at work, take up non-work related stuff and everything, right? It helps if you take up things where it's clearly demonstrable. For example, sports and all, everybody knows. So if there is trekking, instead of that being casual, you can take, I'm not saying take risky treks, right? But ensure that, you're doing that frequently and some information around that. If it's dancing, again, where you should be able to say that, these particular dance forms, salsa, jive, this, that, or beatboxing, I don't know the names, so it can be breakdancing or b-boying, whatever it is, you should be able to do all of it. You should take up something seriously, right? PORs, as I said, whatever you can do. So this is the resume that is required for marketing. And is sales and marketing for you? You thought about it. What should you ask yourself? Do you like the idea of creating products and services to develop a cult following, right? So is the idea that, okay, I want to launch awesome products that people like, right? Do you like the idea of building a successful brand? And do you have the ability, and do you like working with many different teams to make things happen? Sometimes you might have the ability to, you're a people's person. You like people, you like hanging out, but your work you like to do alone. You like to meet people after you work, right? So look at all of these things and then decide what you'd want to look at, right? So whether sales and marketing is for you. So this is this entire domain, and these are the kind of resumes, that people look at for sales and marketing. The next specialization, finance. Now, Finance, unlike sales and marketing, while it's as an area, it is one this thing, the number of subdomains it is divided into is huge. For example, the first thing is investment banking. What does investment banking involve? Investment banking involves the buying and selling of companies, right? So if you are a company that needs to, that's looking to acquire companies in a particular area, so you'll hire an investment bank and say, hey, I want to acquire a company in this domain, and they'll look out for one. So there are two sides, the buy side and the sell side. If you're on the buy side, you're looking at good companies to buy, and if you're on the sell side, you're a company, you're like, hey, I want to get, I want to exit the business, I want to sell this off to somebody. You hire an investment bank, then they do that whole part of, say, fine this thing. Then there is a whole math of how much should this company be valued at, and what is the, what you call, the size of the deal and everything. Now, here if you see for investment banking, can only a CA who only knows how to, do the valuation, will only that person be able to determine the actual value of the company? What is the quality of the team? What is the potential in this particular sector? I'm a conglomerate that is operating across multiple sectors. So if you want to acquire firms in general, move into different sectors, somebody needs to figure out, okay, how good is this sector doing? Within this sector, how good is this company doing? Is this company's product great, but how are the people? Product is not great, but people are great, or people are not that great, the product is great. What are the processes? So a chartered accountant will know the math of it. An MBA is supposed to know the business of it. If you know all this business, but you don't have a CA, can you actually do the valuation? They teach you just a couple of subjects, accounting subjects on campus, but can you do that valuation properly? No. Which is why for investment banking, those with a CA or a CFA, along with a degree in what you call, along with an MBA, that is the most preferred combination, right? And investment banking companies, there is no, in marketing, there is a limit to the amount that you can make. Here, the investment banking firm gets a percentage of the deal. So which is why the deal is big. So the upside is huge. The next part is markets where you're directly into trading. So you're into trading. So when there are different roles within the trading, so you're either directly doing trades, right? Working with a very, very huge firm, and your job is to just keep making the best calls. So, maybe you yourself are, working on the algorithms and stuff. Right? And then there is a research part of it. So there are people who work in equity research. They are actually doing a lot of research on the firms and the sectors, so that they are giving inputs to people, both on the investment banking side as well as on the marketing side, as to how different, sectors are doing. Right. So that is one part of it. But in the markets also, a bit of that is markets as asset management in terms of sales, is that you might be somebody who's working as a wealth manager for somebody else, right? So these your teams are doing the investments that are there, and then you are actually targeting high net worth individuals and doing sales to them in terms of managing their wealth. Asset management, again, wealth management is a small part. Asset management is a larger part. Say, for example, you have, there is a pension fund, right? So there's a pension fund in this particular country, all the pensions, and how do you manage this particular pension? These are assets that countries have, and how do you invest that for the government, so that, because the government is keeping that pension money, every month, and then they're multiplying that, then they're later giving it to, back to people at the time of retirement and all of that. So how do you manage that? So that's asset management. Private equity, venture capital, everybody knows these are funding firms that are looking at startups and early stage firms to put money into, right? So that these fund companies can grow. So different people come with different strategies. Basically, they want to spot the next big company, invest into that, get a stake, and when they get sold off, make lots of money, right? Second part, there are quant roles. Quant roles are where a lot of financial modeling is required, right? In these roles, for example, you might be the one that is, training the algorithm to do that algorithmic trading, right? So you are actually designing models for, for risk, right? From everything from, risk management to different kinds of investing, so, or even algorithmic trading. You are actually developing the models for systems to execute, and for systems to either show red flags to you, or for you to give you intelligence, right? So either to do automatically to do the investing, or to stop investing, or to give you intelligence. Then you have, these are all the core finance roles. The rest of the role is, for example, in banking, retail banking, in operations and products, or any of the banking and financial services firms. So the ICICIs, ICICI Pru's, HDFCs, it's that. Corporate finance is where again you start off, you have to be a CA, and eventually you become the CFO or Chief Financial Officer of a company. From there you can also become the CEO of a company, right? This is the entire gamut of it. So you see that it involves managing a lot of money. What is the career progression like? You start in one of the fields, right? You start in any one of the fields. You either rise through the rank of an investment banking firm or whatever and become the partner and director, or you start your own firm, or you start your own fund, your own private equity firm, your VC firm. So usually people work for a while with different firms, and if the firm is very big, they rise up through the ranks to become directors and partners and stuff. Or if they worked with boutique firms and been very successful, they start their own funds, right? You can become the CEO of a banking and financial services sector firm. It can be an ICICI, it can be an HDFC or anything of those, or a CFO and CEO of any other firm as well. You can rise through the finance route and become a CEO as well, right? So that is the career as far as typically finance goes. Now, the skills required: ability to put in long hours, possibly across different time zones, and of sustained concentration. So you see that it's not easy. Markets across the country, across the world are operating in different time zones. Investment banking deals happen in a very short span of time where you need to analyze a company end to end, do an entire valuation and everything. So you look at long hours and sustained concentration. That's a big skill. Vast amount of data, ability to synthesize that, qualitative, quantitative, and take calls on that very, very regularly, right? Ability to take risks and live with the outcomes, because you are actually taking risks with other people's money and maybe your own money. So that is very, very important. And ability to handle pressure, right? So lots of pressure, because you know that you are working in a high stakes environment. You're not working in a low stakes environment, because it is not at all like a low stakes this thing. So you know that is a very, very important thing to look at. Now, if you look at this, somebody who can understand markets, who can do a valuation correctly, who can look at world trends in terms of how the currency rates are fluctuating, this is fluctuating, that this is up, that is down, where do you invest? So you know that academic capability becomes very, very important. You can't make mistakes with the math, right? So which is why they look at people with exceptionally good academics. Academic pedigree, academic pedigree of being from an IIM or an IIT or an NIT or a Stephens or any other big college, that is not necessarily important because they believe other colleges are not good. But because the number of roles in this are very, very few, right? Marketing, there'll be many roles, many companies, but these finance roles are very, very few. So hence, the only way for them, so there are a lot of people with good grades. The next thing for them to do is shortlist or do some sort of filtering based on the brand of your graduation college. Education background becomes very important. Engineer with absolutely nothing to do with finance says I want to do finance, doesn't work. So commerce students or economics students, they always, first thing your education, this thing has to be aligned. Now, so what do engineers do? So whether this is there or not, which is why the professional degree, CA, CFA becomes absolutely important, because everybody will have like, either they're engineers or commerce or economics, this thing. The big plus on the resume, which has almost become a hygiene factor now, is a CA or a CFA, right? So at IIM Cal, which is the mecca of finance, every year right now, there are at least 100 people in the first year who have finished at least CFA level 1, right? The best student of mine that I was talking about, right? So he was an engineer, he went in, he wanted to get into a big investment banking firm or he wanted to get into finance, but he didn't have a CFA. He graduated, Within a couple of years, he finished CFA all 3 levels, FRM as well as learned Arabic and Mandarin, because Singapore and Dubai are also the investment banking hubs as well, banking and financial sector hubs. So he did that in 2 years and he got the job that he wanted, right? So if you want to get into finance, if you want to get into investment banking, only with a graduation degree or only with an engineer, even if you are at IIM Ahmedabad, does not matter, because when you take finance specialization, you've got great marks also, there'll be 20 other people with the same profile. So professional degree becomes very, very important. Work experience is a bonus, not necessarily a must. The last 2 things, extracurricular activities, singing, dancing, absolutely not required. Great marks, professional degree, can sit and work long hours. That is what works for finance. So which is why ECAs are not at all important. PORs are also not at all important. It doesn't matter. So on my campus also, when people who are interested in finance, they were not doing any of the other things. They were just focusing on one thing, getting great marks. Yeah. So that's how your resume should look like. So if you were somewhere, you are working currently, and you have some time for the CAT, right? If you're really hell-bent on investment banking and finance, do the CFA level 1. CFA level 2, you can do that later. Yeah. Next one. Is it for you? How do you know whether it's for you or not? Do you want to be involved in the buying and selling of companies? Do you love stock markets and naturally enjoy taking risks? Do you have that, right? Do you have an education related to finance? You don't want all of this, but you're a very bookish person who likes research and stuff, then you can get into the back-end research wings also of most of a lot of finance firms, banking firms, investment firms. They have research wings who do research in various fields and generate reports. So if you're that, you can go ahead and look at that. Right. So that is the resume that we are looking at, for finance, and that's how you need to build a career for that. So we finished marketing, we finished finance. Now, next thing, we don't get through with finance, it's a bit more. Right? So we looked at the resume, we looked at, is it for you? The last part is the skills part. Now, even in skills, here also, you need to forge a connection with people from different backgrounds, right? You're meeting CEOs of different companies as part of investment banking, this thing, to see whether they want to buy, whether they want to sell. You're interacting with them. You're meeting high net worth individuals. You have to get somebody to part with their money and convincing them that they, multiply that. A student of mine, I think he's from IIT Guwahati or whatever, so he's like, sir, I know I wanted to get into an IIM only to learn communication skills, because I feel that is my big problem. I need to convince people. I feel finance is only marketing, where you have to talk in such a way that they will immediately give you the money for you to manage, right? So obviously ability to handle super high pressure and high stakes environment, and ability to evaluate different options. So strategic thinking is an importance everywhere. The reason I kept this slide is people think in finance, communication skills are not important. The people skills are not important. No, they're very important there as well, right? So we saw marketing, we looked at finance. In part 2, we look at the rest of the domains, right? Hope you found this useful. This was the end of part 1. Thank you.